Good guy, that Mike Garafolo. So, of course, with this Mike Tomlin news and all the news from around the NFL, it's a perfect opportunity to make our weekly visit with the NFL Network's Mike Garafolo. 19 seasons in Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin is done. But he wasn't fired, Mike. So was it a shock to the Steelers organization that Tomlin decided to step away? And why did he decide to step away now?
No, Jay, it was not a shock. The Steelers have been doing some work on potential head coaches around the league over the last couple of weeks, and you've seen reports, including from our buddy Jay Glazer at Fox. We know how tight he is with Mike Tomlin, so when he's alluding to the possibility of it, you know that others have been made aware of it as well. So we've heard these rumors the last couple of years with Tomlin and with John Harbaugh as well. And in fact, one of the years we heard the rumors, Harbaugh wound up getting an extension. So this is something that has sort of been bubbling up the last couple of years. So you never quite know whether to fully believe the rumors until they happen. They happen in Baltimore. They happen in Pittsburgh. Why now for Tomlin? Look, this franchise feels stagnant at this point. And they're sort of in quarterback purgatory, Jay. And in large part because Tomlin's too good of a coach. If he wasn't that good of a coach, they would have had higher draft picks along the way. Instead, they're in the middle of the first round every single year. They have to try Aaron Rodgers this year. Previously, they tried Kenny Pickett, drafting him at 20th overall in a year where he probably wouldn't have gone, well, maybe he would have gone first round, but a little later in the first round. And Mitchell Trubisky and some other guys that they sort of threw at it because they just weren't high enough to get themselves a quarterback in the draft. So Tomlin and the Steelers sort of felt like they were sort of in a rut at this point. Now, he's got to decide what he wants to do, and I know we're going to talk about that in a second. But right now just felt like, well, where are we going to go? We tried the Rodgers thing. We tried to go all in. We had Super Bowl aspirations. It didn't work out. How are we going to get out of this rut? Tomlin takes a step back at this point.
Steve Bisciotti, the owner of the Baltimore Ravens, held a media conference on Tuesday. Of course, he has a coaching opening, Mike, but here is Bisciotti learning about the new coaching opening inside his division.
Steve, I just had these reports that Mike Tomlin has got terminated or stepped down.
I'm sorry, Mike.
Mike Tomlin stepped down at Pittsburgh.
He did? Is it official?
That's what I keep hearing. So, is he a candidate here?
Holy Mike, wouldn't that be awesome? Only if John takes the Pittsburgh job.
He's great, man. I can listen to that guy talk all day long. So for just the fourth time since 1969, Mike, it blows your mind this team has only had 3 coaches since 69. The Steelers are going to have to hire a new head coach. So what do you feel is next for Pittsburgh, and what do you feel is next for Mike Tomlin, Mike?
A thorough coaching search for Pittsburgh. I mean, I had people asking me today, who are they going to hire? I don't think the Steelers know at this point. They're going to go through the process. The Rooney Rule was named for Dan Rooney. Art Rooney, now his son, is handling things, and that's how they hired Tomlin. They went through the process and were impressed with him in the interview and said, this is our guy. We're going to hire him as the head coach. So I expect them to go the young coach route, if at all possible, to have a guy that they can have there potentially for decades like Mike Tomlin. Doesn't necessarily have to be a defensive side of the ball. In fact, I had somebody today mention Nate Shieldhouse, who's with the Rams, a young offensive assistant who is red hot when it comes to offensive coordinators and head coaching. He said that feels like a Steelers kind of guy. Maybe not the biggest name to the average fan, but a guy that can be their coach for many years to come. So I think you're going to see that process slowly play out. And the Steelers, they're sort of behind everybody a week because they made it into the postseason, but they're not panicking by any stretch. They trust their process and feel like they're going to get a guy. As for Tomlin, I'm not going to say anything till we officially hear from him, because I've heard a lot of people say he's taken a step back, but I've also heard people who work with him who say after just a day or a couple of days, he's going to look up and say, that competitive fire is in me. I want to step back into coaching. Now, here's what's important. He resigned. He wasn't fired. So if he wants to go coach, even if it's next year, sort of like Sean Payton, you're going to have to give the Steelers draft pick compensation as a trade because they hold his rights. He was still under contract with the Steelers. So we'll see if that's this year or maybe next year after a year in broadcasting, which guess what? He does that. He may say, I like this. I want to do this a little bit longer. We'll see.
It would be really cool to see how he did as a broadcaster. I'm sure he'd be terrific. Let's stay in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Mike. Eagles looking for a 5th offensive coordinator in 5 years. Surely, whomever they hire will be the one to turn around this offense, right, Mike?
Potentially could give it a boost, but they've got major problems. They have to figure out if Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown can coexist, because the way I saw it this year, I don't think that that's possible going forward. And you've got 2 contracts that are tough to move. So Howie Roseman, the GM, has got to figure out what to do there. And they didn't have the same offensive line this year that they had the previous year. That offensive line was blowing people off the ball. Well, they lost some guys, including Mekhi Becton. Lane Johnson, the future Hall of Famer, wasn't there. And even the guys who were playing, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, the guys in the interior of the line, they were hurt, even though they were available and playing. Dickerson was hurt all the way back to training camp. So when that's not happening, they're not pushing people off the ball. You're not running it the way that you were the year before. That makes it tough on Jalen Hurts and forces him to be the kind of quarterback that he really isn't, Jay. He's got to get back to running the football a little bit more. He's been reluctant in that regard, hasn't wanted to do it as much. If it's a design run, or even when it's called and it's a zone read, he's not holding onto the ball sometimes the way that he should. He's got to get back to that. That's part of his skill set, and they've got to figure out an offensive coordinator that can unlock that again and expand it. I would say this, even with Kellen Moore the year before, Kellen Moore got praised and he got a head coaching job off of it. It was still Nick Sirianni's type of offense. I believe, and I've heard this, the Eagles front office wants to bring in some different ideas and really wants to change things offensively and make it look different moving forward. So look for that, and look for them upstairs to have an influence in this offensive coordinator search.
I wonder what that will mean for the future of Nick Sirianni in Philadelphia. Mike, there are 9 head coaching.
Fair question.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure a lot of the fan base is wondering that.
Not immediately, but this is starting to feel like, well, if it doesn't go this year, then we might be talking about his job security next year. We'll see.
Mike, there are 9 head coaching vacancies currently. That's basically a third of the entire league. You're going to be busy for the next, well, basically going into training camp.
Well, hopefully we'll fill them all before that, Jay. We'll see.